In this tutorial, we're going to discuss how to use tables to organize your syllabi in a way that's a little bit more user-friendly. We have a syllabus here. It's a good syllabus, has a lot of good information on it, but it's a little bit hard to read. All the stuff is kind of separated straight down and creates kind of a column type situation. Okay? What we're going to do today instead is we're going to use a table to see if we can organize this in a fashion that's a little bit easier to use. So I'm going to click right before the content, the assignment content, and I'm going to go Table, Insert Table, and it's going to have 2 columns and 2 rows. So we're going to tab across like this, and I'm going to create a lot of rows. You notice that when you get to the end of a line, you create a new row. All right, now I'm going to show you a trick that's really kind of fun. I'm just going to highlight where it says due October 18th. That's the first assignment. And I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this guy up to the top of the table and it's going to pop in here. Now, when I was getting ready to do this tutorial, I discovered something very frustrating, which was that for some reason my table won't copy and paste. This is the actual assignment, which is actually quite lengthy. It's a short paper. It has a list of different guys and then what you have to have in the paper. Well, watch this. I'm going to click this and I'm going to drag this up into my table. And it says you can't paste this into a table. Well, that's really irritating. All right, and the more irritating part is I don't know why it's having a problem. Usually when something like this happens, it's a formatting problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a piece of software that doesn't have any formatting. Now you can't see this, but I clicked on the little start button in the lower left-hand corner. I went to all programs. I'm going up to accessories and over and down to Notepad. All right, and I'm simply going to right-click and I'm going to paste that information. Whoops, that didn't work. I'm going to go back. I'm going to highlight this guy, right-click, copy. Going to highlight this, paste. All right, and I just pasted it right in. Okay, so now what I've done is I've posted this into Notepad. I'm going to try highlighting it again, copy. I'm going to minimize this or drag it out of the site. Go back here, paste. And you notice suddenly it all went in with no problem whatsoever. The reason that happened was that Notepad strips all the formatting out. Now I'm just going to highlight this guy. I'm going to go get rid of the bull because that looks kind of lame. And I actually can even highlight this guy, I think, go to Format, Columns, and I'm going to put it into 3 columns or maybe 2 columns since it's kind of narrow and say OK. And I'm going to go Edit Undo because obviously that's not something I wanted to do. All right, so I'm just proving myself to be a little bit less competent in Word than I pretend. So one thing I do want to notice, you notice due October 18th, it's got all the space and all this big information here. It doesn't have much space. Notice the line between the 2 tables. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag that over. And now I got a little bit more room for my stuff. Okay? So there you go. So that's one quick way of doing this. It's a little bit easier. If I really did want to shorten this up a little bit, I could just get rid of the spaces in between and just take these guys and back them up. Try to think about the way your document looks, okay? That's always very helpful to kind of look at it and say, okay, how can I make this take up, quite frankly, less paper? Okay, because I am concerned that we wind up wasting an awful lot of paper. And if you just put things all in a line like this and get rid of all the spaces, it's actually a very, very easy way of saving the kids so that they wind up not printing out extra pages. Fact of the matter is, as much as I would like to live in a paperless society, kids frequently print out things. Okay, so now what am I going to do? See where it says October, day 2? I'm going to drag that up here. I highlight it, I drag it. Same thing where it says no class. Tuesday, October 7th, drag it up. Classwork and homework, boom, drag it up. Wednesday, see, you notice I'm just taking all the dates, dragging it up over here on one side of the table, and then I'm taking whatever the assignment was or whatever the information was and dragging it over there. All I have to do is highlight and drag it. It's much faster. Once you get practice doing this, okay, you can do them pretty quickly, actually. All right, so that's one trick. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually continue on, but I'm going to actually pause the recording so that you don't have to spend the next half hour watching me do this. Okay, now as you notice, I've gotten my entire table done. One of the things you may notice though is it seems that there's a little bit not as much space here as I would like. It's kind of cramming things onto separate lines. See down here where it says October 20th, day 2. There's not really enough space for the whole thing, so I probably should drag it over. So I'm going to click in between the vertical line. I'm just going to drag it over, and that does make things look a little bit neater. Okay, So everything's all in one line. Now, there's another thing I can do. I want you to notice, well, gee, this guy here, this column here, this first column should all be bold. And I want that whole first column to be bold. So what I do is click in front of the D in October 18th. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and drag down to the bottom, click at the end, and I can make it bold. I can actually make it a bigger font if I want, say size 12 font. Oh, that's too big, that looks terrible. Let's go to size 10 font instead. Alright, and you notice that now everything is lined up. Now the reason this is helpful for some teachers, okay, is because, actually this wouldn't be the week of October, this would be entire month of October, F period, is that some teachers like to put different dates down for different classes and actually create a calendar for each kid. This will allow you to actually just come in and change all the dates and everything's nice and neatly lined up. So that, for instance, this would be period F, period D obviously meets on different days. Alright, and this concludes this tutorial using tables to organize our study guides.